That was aggressive.
Man, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of RoseAboveIt Podcast. I'm your host, T Rose.
It's your boy Malk.
It's your girl, Honey.
And we got a very special guest in the building, Shatike Parker, running for 1st District of City Council of Yonkers.
Can we get a round of applause for her?
What's good? What's good, man?
Appreciate you coming by, definitely.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Honestly, I'm taking time out to be here. We appreciate you. We got Damn Dens in the building, Young in the building. We got
Everybody.
We got a full house. We got a little audience tonight. We never have an audience.
It's a party.
It's nice to see y'all. Yo, how's y'all mental health? Malk, how y'all been? Honey, how y'all been?
Mental health?
Yeah, how y'all been? Mental health check-in has been a week, yo.
I feel great.
You good?
Yeah.
That's just good?
Yeah.
Y'all gonna stop coming in here with just good.
I've been good. I've been working, grinding, doing my thing, working hard on the pod. So I'm excited for this interview.
I just came back from vacation.
Where'd you go?
That's why
I went to the Bahamas.
Oh, you got money.
Yeah, I took my son to the Bahamas. We went on a cruise.
You took that nice little, Carnival cruise?
Yeah, Carnival.
Oh, they was in your email.
Oh, no, that's the black people
They were in
cruise.
your email.
They was in your email.
They got you with a
Really?
deal? They got you with a deal?
$60 for interior
No,
room.
you know what's crazy? Like, this is my second one. So they actually gave me the liquor package for a little bit more than what the cruise was. So we was lit. 15 drinks a day.
Talking about soda. This is your second one, you said.
Yeah.
So the first one you didn't buy no alcohol package.
No.
You snuck alcohol in.
I
a
went.
peasant.
I went.
There's nothing wrong with that. It is nothing wrong with that.
That's
I've
what you
done
do?
that. I have done it.
Dang.
I
must be behind.
But it's easy to get stuff on there.
Shatike, when you go on cruises, you
I've never been on a cruise.
You never been on a cruise?
I just having this conversation earlier. I've never been on a cruise.
You gotta experience a cruise, girl.
Yeah.
Cruises are fun.
It'd be lit.
Carnival.
Yeah.
It'd be lit.
See, black people love Carnival. Why y'all don't want to go on Norwegian or
There's no party on there. No Norwegian and Royal Caribbean.
Yo, relax.
Is no fun.
Just relax. Black people always want to turn up.
We go to Disney cruises. I heard Disney cruises are lit.
Nah, that's overpriced.
I don't got no kids, man.
Let's just go to Disney if that's the case. I'm not gonna be on a boat.
Carnival's where it's at. We know where we belong.
That's a fact.
Yo, speak for yourself.
When the last time you went on Royal Caribbean?
Not yet, but
Yeah,
No, Carnival's 75% black.
100%. And all the workers are black.
Nah, not in this one.
The entertainment workers are entertainment.
Nah,
workers
not
are
in this one. There was
Really?
nobody working there black. Maybe 1%.
You got the one out of Denmark.
nah. Was it good? Was that nice, relaxing? You took your son with you?
Yeah, I took my son. He had fun. He went to the kids club. He didn't want nothing to do with me. He made his cruise friends, and yeah, I just basically was sleeping for 2 days and in a jacuzzi, and drinking.
Shatike, you're a mother too, right?
I am. My daughter's 2.
How important is it for her to just get out and experience the world?
It's really, really important. I mean, I didn't get on a plane for the first time until I was 14, 15 years old.
Where'd you go?
To Dominican Republic for a friend's birthday. And when I got on a plane for the first time, my mother had not even been on a plane ever.
Word?
Yeah, so.
That's lit.
Yeah. So it's important. She's already been on a plane. She's 2 a couple times.
She got a passport?
No, she doesn't have a passport yet. Nope.
That's next, right? That's next. Yep.
Yeah.
It's important to do one better than your parents, Joe. So you did that.
Yeah.
Growth.
Right.
Very nice.
That's facts.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the real reason why you're here, because I know you pressed for time because we started late. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I apologize on
We
behalf
forgot to
of.
tell you we was on black people time.
It's okay. It's usually me, so I feel better that it wasn't me.
I told her 8:30. She pulled up 8:30 prompt to sit here till 9:30.
It's cool.
At least you had a little something. Take the edge off.
She's adulting, I like that. Adulting means scheduled time.
Right.
I love that.
Well, so what made you want to get in? What made you? Oh, actually, Mal, you go ahead. You ask. What made it? What?
So what prompted you to run for city council?
So educationally, I have a bachelor's degree in political science, so I've always been interested in it. And I'm born and raised here in Yonkers, grew up in School Street, and went away to school, got my degree, came back home. I worked for a union for a while, and then I came back to Yonkers and was working for County Legislator Christopher Johnson for 5.5 years. And when I first started working for him, he asked me if I would ever run for office. And if you know politics, you just would be like, hell no. Like, it's not, it's a really messy business. But, you know, once you get like behind the scenes and you're at certain tables and you're part of certain conversations, you recognize how important it is for people like me, right, who have like lived experiences in Yonkers, coupled with my education and my career experience, to be a part of those conversations and a part of that decision making, because it's like a very special lens, right? Like, if we're talking about housing, right, I've lived in almost every type of housing you could think of: project housing, Section 8 housing, affordable housing, private landlord housing, etc. And the people that are sitting around those tables oftentimes have no experience in any of those realms.
Right.
So that's really what motivated me. I feel like there's a voice that's missing and that needs to be there and is reflective of the first district, and I'm hoping that voice is mine.
Love that.
Where is the first district for those, like, because there's gonna be a lot of people who listen to this who don't know politics. All.
And the districts are weird. So the first district recently got changed. I'm talking about within the last 2 weeks. Prior to the last 2 weeks, the first district was at Arthur Street in Warburton, and it extended through the waterfront. So it stopped like right through the waterfront, and then it stopped right after Serrato Park. Okay. So it encompassed that first part of Riverdale. Now it goes from the Yonkers-Hastings borderline all the way to the Bronx Yonkers borderline. Okay. And so they stretched it out longer, but they made it narrower. So when I first decided to run, all of the projects were included, like Slow Bomb. Whitney Young is not a project, but it's low-income housing. All of that stuff was a part of the first district. Now it's not anymore. And those are my people. And it's not anymore. They've made it narrower and made it longer. But it's just a better opportunity to be able to, you know, I got to go to the South Side now and talk to people and figure out, you know, we have so much more in common than we think, especially when it comes to problems in Yonkers. So I'm excited to talk to people.
It's crazy how you actually want that issue of dealing with low income housing, because some people are afraid of that.
Yeah.
Some people are afraid to have that issue of saying like, yo, how can I make the quality of life for people who don't make as much money?
Yeah.
How can I make that better? So the fact that you wanted to embody that and do that is a big testament to your character.
Yeah. It's scary though. It's not like something that's just like, oh, I have all the answers. I'm about to go in and be Superwoman and fix this shit. It's not like that at all, right? It's like it's not just about me. Like, I have my personal experiences in housing, but my experiences, while they might be similar to others, are not exact to others. And like I said, when you just have to be in some of these rooms and in some of these conversations, it's wild. Like, people's expertise or what they think is better for a population that they've never even been amongst or they've never talked to, right? Like, we've had meetings where I have to convince people to have, like, if we're having, you know, a meeting with the homeless, like, we shouldn't all be sitting around a big ass table talking about the homeless without nobody there from the homeless community.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And to me, that's just common sense. But it's been this way for years, where people are just voided out of conversations and decisions are made for them. And it's unfortunate, but it's important for people like myself to recognize that and see an opportunity and then take it.
Like, what do you feel like y'all should do with their homeless issue? Like, I know there's like, I know especially in the square, and I know it's a lot of homeless people that don't have a place to go. No shelters there's a shelter, but not much space available.
Yeah. So you'll hear, like, often people say the homeless problem is a county problem, because technically that's the authority who is supposed to deal with the homeless, who's supposed to fund and find programs for homeless. But as local government, we have a responsibility also to join in that fight and figure out how we remedy the situation. And I think what people also forget, so a couple of things, right? I know you say, like, there's a lot of homeless in Getty Square. And while the numbers of homeless to a lot of people seem, you know, one homeless is too many homeless, right?
Of course.
But the population that's in Getty Square, it's like the same kind of people. Like, it's not, you know, that population is honestly not really growing. The population of people you see in Getty Square. Yeah. There's actually more population of people who are couch surfing, who are staying in drop-in shelters because they actually do work and they just can't afford, with inflation and the rent prices down, to stay in their homes. So, you know, from my perspective, the homeless problem is a very layered problem. And there's a couple of things that I have thoughts about. So one, I think it's easy for us to be like, out of sight, out of mind. Let's find a big ass shelter and stuff them in there and warehouse them and get them out of our faces, and then the problem disappears. But that doesn't address any of the issues of why people are homeless to begin with, right? That doesn't address employment. It doesn't address substance abuse and mental health issues. It doesn't address, a wide range of things. And so in order to remedy, I think that those things need to be addressed. One thing that people don't know is that when you go stay in a homeless shelter, if you're in a formal homeless shelter and it's not a drop-in, you have to contribute like 85% of your income a month to the shelter. So if you're making
$1,000, I didn't know that.
If you're making $1,000, like $800 of that goes to the shelter every month after 30 days. And that's why people are turned off by shelters and prefer to stay in drop-ins, which is what we have here in Yonkers. But the problem with drop-ins is that they're rotating, they're not stable, right? So you have to go in at a certain time at night, and you have to technically, leave in the morning. And that's why we see people lingering in the square and, things of that nature. But what is the real root of that issue? The real root is that people should not have to contribute 80% of their incomes to stay in formal shelters. Right. Who's in control of that? It's a state law. So local government and county government need to, band together and advocate at the state level for something like that to be changed. That would help with the people that we see lingering, because people will not be deterred from staying in formal shelter housing instead of staying in drop-ins where you have to leave early in the morning and then you see people, hanging out in the square. So I don't want to bore y'all with
no.
I actually didn't know that, because that's a crazy thing that they're taking money from homeless people.
Yeah.
Who can't.
And New York City has a pilot program that they've done where instead of trying to attempt to lobby the state representatives and change the law, they've created a program where they still take that money, but they put it in a savings account for some of their homeless populations. And then the homeless, after a certain amount of time or through their transition of finding permanent housing, could use that savings that they've developed to, pay their rent for a year. Or, I'm pretty sure there's like stipulations around what you can use the money for, even though it's yours. And that could be something that's mimicked, right? I think the real problem is that people are not trying to be creative and solve the problem. They're just like, oh, it's a county issue, I'm not going to deal with it. At least people on the local level. And I think it's better that we decide, is our problem too, right? Like, this is our community, these are our people, and we should be focused on solutions rather than the actual problem.
Yeah. It's time to stop passing the blame.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
Even when it comes to like feeding the homeless question, something that I've like thought about. I mean, I'm not a politician, right? So I know like Saunders has like a cooking program, right? And I'm like, yo, is there no way where maybe high school kids who want to learn how to cook, will learn how to be chefs, can cook and make meals for the homeless as like homework and donate it to the homeless? Is that something that can't be done?
No, it's not something that can't be done. I think people are just afraid to push the envelope. They're afraid to be creative, or they just don't care as much as they should to want to try different things, right? It's like even with our education in Yonkers, like Yonkers Public Schools is extremely underfunded. And the way the state formula works is that money is distributed by county, and we live in one of the wealthiest counties. So even though we're one of the poorest cities, we live amongst some of the wealthiest cities, and so therefore we get the short end of the stick as it comes to state funding. But again, instead of just trying to blame the state, and yes, we should be up there pushing them to fully fund the formula and to give us, the maximum foundation aid, et cetera. But what are we doing on the local level to make sure that we have more money for our students? What kind of creative things can we come up with ourselves to make sure that we're injecting funds into our schools? It can't just be, sit on your hands and wait until a higher level of government does something. You got to be creative and wanting to do more locally. It's
kind of sad because we shouldn't have to do those things to fund our schools when Yonkers pays the highest taxes out of every city in Westchester.
The extra tax.
Yeah. Yonkers pays the highest taxes. So to me, to not be able to fund your kids, like our kids, look at when we graduated high school, none of our high schools have changed.
Right.
Have had any type of change. Going to high school, basketball court, or even the hallways, same smell when I walk in that school. Same smell, same everything. When I went to Lincoln to play basketball, I'm like, yo, it's the same exact thing that I walked into used to play. It's insane to me. Like, and when you go to like Mamaroneck High School, Pelham High School, New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, even Mount Vernon High School, they've renovated certain areas. You're like, yo, wow. Where is that for us? Where's renovations? Like, where does that money go? Where's all the tax money? It's insane.
Yeah.
Seems like we're not high on the priority list here. And I guess your point, you want to get Yonkers in that spotlight so you can help out the schools, the homeless, and stuff like that.
I just want to move the council to be more creative and thinking about other ways to expand funding in our city and remedy because it's not really a homeless situation as much as it is a housing situation. Like, we lack affordable and low income, like comfortable low income housing for residents in our city. And that's why we have homeless. In addition to other, issues like mental health and substance abuse, the real problem is that there's not enough housing. How many times do you have family or friends who struggling to find an apartment because the housing stock is just crazy? It costs too much money. Incomes are not matching up with how much people are charging for, apartments. And we have all of these luxury developments happening. I was just about to say that. All along. Yeah.
I was about to say, do you think that the gentrification, because that's what it is, that they're trying to do is gentrify that area in Yonkers, District 4. Do you feel like that's an issue? Like, do you feel like that the building of the luxury apartments, is it a good thing? Is it bad for our area? How do you feel about it?
I think cities make decisions to expand and grow in different ways in order to keep themselves modern and constantly growing and attracting new people to come there. And I don't necessarily look at that as a bad thing, but I look at it as a bad thing when you're pushing out the residents who are already here, or when you're not accounting for them. So right now there's an ordinance in Yonkers that says every new luxury development that goes up after a certain year, I think it's like 2011, has to have 10% affordable housing. So on a 100-unit building, that's 10 apartments that are quote unquote affordable. Now you go even further by saying that 10% is based off of Westchester County's area median income, not Yonkers. Again, we just talked about how Yonkers is a very poor city and a very wealthy county, but we're using the county's numbers to decide what's affordable for Yonkers residents. So amongst that 10%, let's say 4 of those apartments are in like a lower income bracket. There's like 2 apartments in the middle and then 4 at the top of the income bracket. And the area, guess what the area median income for a family of 4 in Yonkers is? I mean, in Westchester County is?
$45,000.
What?
100?
No.
Oh, for Westchester County.
Yeah.
They said Yonkers. I'm sorry.
Right.
100.
That's a good point.
150,000?
Close.
100 something.
It's like 138 for a family of 4. How many people or families of 4 in Yonkers make $138,000?
I mean, that's why I said 40,000, 45,000.
Because even some of our family of 4s doesn't necessarily consist of a man, a woman, and 2 children, right?
Yep.
It could be a woman and 3 kids, a man and 3 kids, and so it's just we gotta take a real hard look at what we have on the books and figure out how we transform those laws to better suit people of Yonkers.
Is that something you want to change? Like, is that something that you're I don't know how to be creative about those type of things. I'm not on that, but is that something that you're going to the public in Yonkers? Like, look, this is the issue. Help me change it. Yeah,
I mean, the affordable housing ordinance that we currently have on the books, prior to that, we had nothing. So Legislator Christopher Johnson, the person I used to work for, is the one who actually put that on the books. And it was a great first start. But that was almost 10 years ago. Okay. It's time it was time then and it's time now to not only increase the percentage that these developers have to set aside for affordable housing, but to also look at those details that I just mentioned. There are other details within there. So if you are living in an affordable housing unit and you're in that lower bracket that I just mentioned, right? If you make $1 over what that bracket is, you have to move or start paying market rate rent. You can't even just transition into another bracket.
Yep, and that keeps you in a box. So you can't even make more. If you want to make more money, now you're like, yo, if I make more money, I have to find somewhere else to live to pay.
And that's a similar problem with Section 8, right? If you make too much money in Section 8, there's really no transitional period. When we were on Section 8, my mom was on Section 8. I worked for them a few years after she was no longer on Section 8, and one of the things that I found out when I was working there was that they had a program for home ownership. And the only reason why my mom removed herself from Section 8 was because she started making, what she was supposed to do. She started to grow her income, and they were paying $1, and she just didn't feel like it was worth it to keep going to these recertifications, for $1. But at what point was somebody there going to tell her that there was a program for her to start looking toward home ownership now? Because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be transitional. You're not supposed to be, working at Section 8. I've seen people decades on there for 20, 30, 40 years, and nobody's really pushing them to transition, and they're not pushing themselves because of what you just said. God forbid I get a raise. Now I don't got my Section 8. How am I supposed to afford, my rent? So people are caught between a rock and a hard place.
And I think there is, even when when I don't want to switch topics too drastically, but when it comes to youth and it comes to extra curricular activities, I feel like there's a disconnect. Not only that, there's a lack of extracurricular activities, number one.
Yes.
But there is also a disconnect when there are extracurricular activities, a disconnect on how these kids find out about them.
Yeah.
Like, so there'll be kids in school and they won't know about maybe a choir here, maybe like, I don't know, Messiah Baptist Church, that's in District 1, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they need a choir. They're looking for singers and kids, and these kids don't know because there's nobody telling them, hey, yo, if you love singing, come here and sing. Mm-hmm. There's no way. There's no art programs. There's nothing. You know what I mean? No, we used to have North Yonkers for drum and all that stuff. But they don't have that no more. Or the NEP Community Center, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like a big disconnect in how we receive our information.
Yeah. Access and transparency is definitely two things that I think needs to change on, the city council as well. Access to information, like meeting people where they are. Mm-hmm. I think like people have meetings at places or about issues, and they expect people who work 2 and 3 jobs to have the capacity to show up across town for an issue, and then they say, maybe that they like say that issue must not be that important to that person because they weren't able to make it to a meeting across town. And it's nobody's taking the effort to really meet people where they are, right? Like hold these meetings in community rooms in the building. We were just doing community conversations around District 1 where it's like I'm booking people's community rooms in the bottom of their buildings and going up to the doors and flyer in the doors and saying, hey, I'm gonna be down here from this time to this time. Come talk to me. I think that's one of them, is just like actually meeting people where they are. And then it's just, the access to information and the transparency. Like I recently attended a workshop through the STEM Alliance who, they're like big into tech and into access to technology, and obviously living in the world that we live in now, seeing what happened with COVID and kids having to, work from, go to school from home, that's a big deal. And one of the things that really, really struck me was that there is a program through the state where people of a certain income level could get like really good discounts on internet access in their homes. And you'd be surprised how many people don't have internet access in their homes. Or like they set a figure where it's like the average device per household. Like there are some households where there's 7-8 people who live in there and they only have one computer in that household. Right? That's not equity. It's not equitable to have 5 kids living in a household who may all have to do homework from a computer, but they share one computer, at home to do it. So they were going through this workshop and they mentioned, that it's called like the ACY program or something to that effect, where you can get lowered your internet or have like a discounted internet and have more access and equity to internet. And like the superintendent of Yonkers Public Schools could sign a piece of paper and everybody who gets like free or reduced lunch in that school would qualify for that program. She couldn't explain to me why that hasn't happened yet.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
And that's insane because the fact that even I had reduced lunch.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Probably take it from her bonus.
Nah, it's like they keep those secrets. And
why? Right? Like that's
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the secret. It shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Wow. I listened to your episode. I don't want to put you in a rock and hard place. I listened to one of your interviews. I'm not going to say the name of the person, of the place you went, where somebody said that parenting is the reason for gun violence.
Yep.
When kids bring guns to school and stuff.
Yeah.
And just speaking back on like extracurricular stuff, I totally disagree because I know people who were into gangs and into crazy stuff when both of their parents are even like their parent, they had good foundations, great foundations, and they tried. They literally tried.
Yep.
I mean, they tried everything. They got all the opportunities. They traveled the world. Their parents showed them a better life. Their parents got them into colleges, HBCUs, everything.
Yeah.
And they still went down that path. So to me, that's why when I heard that, I was like, I disagree personally. I think idle time is the devil. Yeah. I think anybody who has idle time and nothing to do, nothing scheduled, I think that's when it's like,
and I would go further and say idle time coupled with, just because you have two parents in the household, or you have a, what some would consider a strong foundation in your home, doesn't mean that you don't have kids who are still confused, hurting, mentally not okay, etc. So when you don't have services for any of those problems, and they don't have nothing to do or no outlets, it's like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you watch that episode, I disagreed with him as well.
Yeah, I seen that. I was happy you did. I was like, yo, you better stand up for us, because that is not it. That's not it.
I also know you spoke about the housing, the education, and the other stuff. What would you say your biggest focus would be when elected?
So what you just mentioned, housing and education, for sure. I'm also want to figure out why we lack diversity within, specifically within city government jobs. It's not, we have people of color who work in civil service positions and work within city government, but the high level positions within city government are not consumed by people of color, even though Yonkers is a majority, it's becoming more and more people of color. So definitely diversity in employment. I used to have a business. That's the last time I was on this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a small boutique, and that is transformed into a consulting company that I have, where I help businesses start and grow, etc. And so I'm really passionate about helping small businesses expand, especially Black and brown businesses, because I'd say this all the time. We live in the city of Yonkers. South Broadway has South Broadway, where it's like, 100 Spanish businesses.
Yep.
We have, Korean hair stores, etc.
Little Mexico.
In Yonkers. Yeah. And Black people have been here forever, and we still don't have a business community that's ours, or like, a center for Black business in Yonkers. And I want to figure out how to expand that. How do we give people the resources and empower them to open businesses, but also to be able to maintain them? Because we have businesses come and go all the time. Yeah. But I think lack of support from the city and, resources, et cetera, cause them to leave. So how do we bring Black businesses here, but also keep them here?
Yeah, it's true. And even using our 9-to-5s, like even you said, taking these city jobs, like I feel like there's not enough of us that go take those tests.
Yeah, I've been on the waiting list for like 3 years.
Yo, there's not enough of us that go take those civil service tests. There's not. Yeah. Yo, there's nothing wrong with picking up trash, bro, and using that for your dream. Yeah. Using that money to support your dream. There's nothing wrong with that. And we even at Young, we need more Black police officers. Mm-hmm. I think that's firefighters. And EMS workers like this. If people start seeing people that look like us, first of all, policing will change. Yep. Because a lot of policing, especially what I realize when it comes to Black people, it's how you approach. Yeah. Like a lot of policing, and I don't know, is that huge for you? The policing in District 1, how they do it, is neighborhood policing your way to go?
One of the things I recently pointed out is that in my personal experience in growing up, and just seeing police officers and the few police officers that we do have that are, Black police officers, it's not just about the police officer looking like you. It has to be somebody that understands you, mentally. Right?
From the community.
Right, yeah. Exactly, from the community. So there's been efforts on the city council to give extra points to people who've graduated from Yonkers, give extra points and priority to people who've graduated from Yonkers public schools. I'm not sure where that legislation lies right now, but measures like those will help to ensure, right, that somebody is not just moving here, living here for 6 months, and then applying for the police job and getting priority, right? Or maybe, there's points for, I think, if your father was a cop or if you're a veteran or something of that nature. Mm-hmm. And so now you have somebody who's from Rockland or from another county who's just been here a couple of months, and they're your police officer, and they could be Black. But just because we might not be able to relate to a Black police officer from Rockland like we could relate to the Black police officer, that lived around the corner from us or grew up on the same streets as us. So it's in all of these, I think in all of these jobs, and especially policing, it's important for people not to just look like you, but somebody who feels you. There's a level of tension and a guard that can come down when you recognize that person is you can relate to them, so.
I feel that 1,000%.
And what about your nonprofit? Like, I know you were doing Project Inspire. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you're continuing to do? I know you've been working with the community, with the homeless, with the children.
Yeah.
And by the way, I love everything you were doing with Project Inspire. I even supported a couple times because I was like, oh, this is great. Like, get the kids to go to the movies, feed the homeless. Mm-hmm. What are you trying to do? Yeah, I loved it. I was like, she's the only one that I see like really doing it, on a larger scale in Yonkers. Especially you being from here. Like, what are you trying to do with that going forward?
So Project Inspire was born out of a need that we saw, a lack of organizations that we thought like looked like us and felt like us and put on programs that we actually wanted to be a part of or wanted to do. Again, it was people, making decisions for populations of people who they're not a part of. And we wanted to like a for us, by us kind of organization. So that is why Project Inspire was birthed. And like you said, we've done a number of programs. We have like yoga programs, took kids to the movies, took them to Washington, D.C., fed the homeless every Thanksgiving. And we've been on hiatus because we are really trying to get our shit together. Mm-hmm. But Donnell Keat McCall is actually the president of Project Inspire now, and he's been doing amazing work behind the scenes to, get us some funding and really move Project Inspire into a direction that could help more youth. Because it's cool to put on programs, and I appreciate it. Thank you for like shouting out the work that we've done. But we're not people who just want to do shit just to do it, right? Mm-hmm. We want to like do impactful things that are effective. And if it's just going to become the annual, food giveaway or the annual book bag drive, like it's cool, but there's 100 of those. Like, what can we do to like be different and to provide more? It is, after all, Project Inspire, right? We want to inspire the next generation to do more. So we don't want to become comfortable with just doing these annual.
Well, let us know what you need to, get this back on, because I know me, I know Triff, I know everyone here, like, we appreciate those type of programs. So anything we could do to support, it's coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, if y'all ever need like little media, somebody there to just cover, interview kids. I know kids love to just be interviewed and feel like
you guys did one of the talent shows one year, right? That was so cool, and they really loved that.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
they was like little celebrities.
I seen it in their faces. I was like, yo, I love just making them feel like
yeah.
All right, so this is a question that I'm gonna ask. I know a lot of people don't think about the old folk. So for the seniors, do you have any plans for the seniors? Are anything in mind to help with, like nursing homes or assisted living for the older folk in Yonkers?
So like nursing homes and those types of facilities are regulated by the state. Okay. But like the first thing when you were talking about that came to my mind was like during the pandemic, things like really went left for them in nursing homes, but just like seniors in Yonkers in general. And, there's the Office of the Aging has like these centers around Yonkers that puts on programs. There's funding provided to like keep the seniors moving and going, right? Like they have days and times where they meet and stuff. And the pandemic just like really dwindled that. And I think older people lost a lot of friends. They lost a lot of family that made them afraid to become more communal and be back outside. So I think just figuring out, tapping in with them, maybe talking to some of them and seeing what they would like to be funded, to be able to enjoy themselves, enjoy their retirements, enjoy their, bingo nights or whatever, and bring them back out. Because I do think it's a little touch and, go right now, just because, like I said, they've lost a lot of people. They're older themselves. They're very cautious. But with the nursing home specifically, I think, there are organizations and state representatives out there who are working toward making sure that regulations for nursing homes and assisted living facilities are more stringent, because there was a lot of, unnecessary deaths in our nursing homes around New York State, just, not being able to contain the spread of COVID and not keeping up with regulations and stuff like that. So just supporting, I think, our state representatives in those efforts, but also making sure that the seniors who are not in nursing homes and the ones who are still mobile and can attend these centers have all that they need and what they want. Like my biggest thing is just talking to people and asking them, what do you want?
Okay.
Right? It's not about the people who are keeping the seat warm in City Hall. It's about the people that we represent. And sometimes I feel like people are afraid to communicate, afraid to ask people questions, right? I was just having this conversation about registering to vote. In one of our community conversations, there was a woman who was on the phone on her way out the door, and we tried to like get her attention. And she was like, oh, I'll come back and talk to you guys. And she came back in. She said hello. And I was like, are you registered to vote? She said no. And I was like, do you want to register? And she was like, sure. It took me I didn't have to convince her. Yeah. I'm like, nobody's ever asked her.
Nope. Yeah.
And she was Hispanic, so they maybe thought she didn't speak English or that she couldn't register. But you don't know until you ask.
People think when you can't communicate well, you're just stupid. So they're like,
I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, I think just talking to people. So talking to the seniors, talking to the youth, talking to parents, talking to educators. Like, what do you need? There's a show. Have y'all watched New Amsterdam on Netflix? Anybody?
I've heard of it. Actually watched 2 episodes.
Did you? Oh,
yes,
look at that.
Yes.
So if you watch 2 episodes, you probably have picked up or may have noticed, like, he's always asking, like, how can I help?
Yes.
Like, he's, like, the director of the hospital, but he comes in scrubs. And the first episode, he's in there, like, changing into his scrubs, and the cleaning people are talking shit. Like, yeah, who's this new director? Blah, blah, blah. And he's, like, just putting on his stuff. Mm-hmm. And then somebody comes in and they're like, what? Like, they say, like, director, like, what are you doing in here? And all the cleaning people are like, oh, shit. And, so the episodes go through, and he has like this big seminar with all of the directors of the hospital and stuff. And he's asking for their feedback and nobody's like providing no feedback or anything. And he ends up firing a bunch of people, etc. But like, ultimately, after almost every situation or before almost every situation, he's like, how can I help? Like, I'm the director. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the one making the decisions, but I work for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I represent you. How can I help you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Wow.
What you got planned for the housewives? No, I'm just kidding. no.
Which ones?
No. So like,
you were talking about
a couple episodes ago, I mentioned that being a housewife isn't a job, and boy, my DMs flooded.
I bet it did.
On TikTok, they was black men don't need a podcast.
They only talked about this. They only talked about this when I wasn't here. By the way,
it's not a job though, but
okay,
it's not.
You get a W-4 for it?
Shatika, do you think being a housewife is a job? I know this. I don't want to put you in hot water.
How do you define housewife? Like somebody who's. How do you define housewife?
Stays home, takes care
you don't
of the
got
kids,
you don't got no job.
Takes care of the kids alone is already.
I'm not saying that's not a job.
2 jobs.
No, it ain't.
Yeah,
it's a responsibility. It ain't a job.
It's a job.
No, it ain't.
It's a job.
It's work.
It's work.
If you're doing it 24/7 and that's all you're doing, it's a job.
If you are not, are you getting paid for it? If you're not getting paid for it, it's not a job.
We should.
But I don't think that's the question, right?
Like,
you're being technical about the word job, but really what you're referring to is that being a housewife is not work.
No.
Like, it's like...
No, I didn't say that. I said it's not a job.
Just like, I'm just chilling, being a housewife, drinking my martini.
Being a housewife is not a job.
Kids is over there.
I don't think he means it's not work.
No, it's hard work. I believe it's hard work. So is like, cleaning your backyard. It's hard work. Washing your car, hard
but
work.
You don't have to clean your backyard every single day. Make sure that it doesn't die. Like,
all right.
You don't have
to.
All
right, cool. So if you have a kid, right, and you give him chores every single day, and he does his chores every single day, is that his job or is that his responsibility?
It's a chore.
It's a chore. It's
a
responsibility.
I think we're getting hung up on the word chore, job, whatever.
I'm just saying.
You gotta define job. You gotta define what a job is.
But the intent behind your statement that being a housewife is not a job is not based on the word. You're trying to diminish what comes with being a housewife.
Not at all.
He thinks it's a privilege.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
He's not saying it's a privilege.
He thinks it's like, that ain't.
I want you to try to do it.
Being a housewife is a privilege.
I want you to do
it.
Being
it's not a privilege.
Being a housewife
not a privilege.
Being a housewife means you do not have to work.
It's just hard work.
I ain't never been a housewife.
I don't have to go out to make money because how you paying for the house?
It depends.
If you don't go out and work, that's a privilege to not have to go out and work. To not have to go out and find a job and work for somebody else.
That's you can't go out and work because you have somebody at home taking care of your kids.
That's a privilege.
No, that's your privilege. That you're able to go out and work because you have a woman at home taking care of your kids.
If you wanted to go to work, you could go to work. That's fine.
Where the kids gonna go?
If I could pay for you to be home, I could pay for daycare.
That's not true.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's absolutely not.
You must a little bit of a privilege.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a privilege.
Hold up. No.
But it's a privilege I would not choose.
First of all, do you know how much daycare costs?
It's a lot.
It's a hell of a lot. So just because you can afford to have a woman sit home does not mean you can afford daycare.
Are we housewives of Atlanta?
Especially if you have multiple kids. That's number one. That's number one. And the privilege is that you get to get up and leave the house every day knowing that your kids are well taken care of by somebody at home.
It's not a privilege for a man to get up and go to work.
Listen,
I don't want to. That's not a. That's something I need to do.
It's only a privilege if you like Housewives of Atlanta.
So,
if you housewife in Yonkers and you just paying the rent. And putting food on the table. That's not a privilege.
Well, that's why I asked to define housewife, because if I'm a housewife and I got a couple nannies and I'm just chilling, then maybe, that ain't shit. But if I'm a housewife who is doing all of the stuff at home and taking care of your snotty-nosed kids while you're out.
Our snotty-nosed kids.
Yeah, ours. Yeah, it is ours.
While you're out at work. Right. They might as well be, because y'all talk about while you're at work, that is work. That is a job.
You do work every day, but it's not a job you're getting paid for. It's your responsibility, and it just happens to be hard work, like you said.
But the fact that you've already defined it as hard work means that you shouldn't think so frivolous of it.
I don't think frivolous. I don't think frivolous of it.
Let me tell you why you got drowned.
He
got drowned in his DMs because the way you say it's not a job.
No, I said I appreciate and I understand being what I said was being a housewife is hard work. I said I understand, and if it works for your household, I respect it. I get it. If it works for you, great. But I'm not going to sit here and you're not going to tell me that you got a job. I'm sorry. You don't got a job.
I don't think anybody says that in the term of like expecting a W-4 from it. They just say it's a job. Like it's equally and sometimes even more challenging work than you do sitting at an office desk from 9 to 5.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't disagree.
This escalated.
I think it's only a privilege. It's only a privilege.
You want
Yeah.
So realistically, right?
Oh, here we go.
When he start with realistically,
being able to be a housewife is actually a luxury because you are in a marriage or a relationship with someone who makes enough money.
People don't only stay home from work and because they're straight.
That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about you don't have a choice. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you are a housewife is a luxury because the man has made the commitment that I'm going to go work 2 jobs. I'm going to go work 3 jobs, or I'm just so good at what I do that I can just get paid an astronomical amount of money that I can afford to have my wife stay at home with our children.
Well, that's why I asked the question in the beginning, how we're defining housewife, how we're defining job, because I think that it's a very loose definition, and people stay at home and consider themselves, at home moms. Are we differentiating between housewife and at home mom? Stay at home mom?
They're saying housewives like Housewives of Atlanta.
No. I'm talking about a mother who has a husband. She stays home. She cooks. She cleans. She takes care of the kids. She does all that hard work.
And that doesn't always mean that there is, an astronomical amount of money being made.
Because your husband is not chilling at home.
It might be cheaper to keep you home than to pay for your 3 kids to go to daycare.
What that means is that man made a commitment to his family.
It doesn't mean
he's
that.
going to do whatever it is that he has to do to provide. So his woman...
You're supposed to do that anyway.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
And you should take care of the kids anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. You should do that even if I'm getting up going to work every day.
There's levels. He made a commitment to say that, hey, I'm going to do whatever it is that I have to do because I want my woman home.
But that's assuming that everything is
taken care of.
But that's assuming that everything is taken care of.
It is.
But that's assuming, but you're making the assumption that man is going out and being able to make enough to take care of the household. They could still very well be struggling.
Where these men at?
Right, actually, let's do that.
I'll sit at home. Give me the job. job.
Right.
I know a few.
Give me the
I know a
job.
few. I know a few.
Give me the
I know a
job.
few.
That's not what I'm saying. But
That's what you're
That ain't
saying.
a job. That's an internship.
What I will
Can
say,
I get paid the daycare fee?
What I will say is this, and
I'm just saying.
y'all can say Young said it on the thing. If a man that is not making enough money,
What about a house husband?
You can make enough, and that's not enough.
no. If a man is not making enough money, but still wants you to stay home,
It's not always a want. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you got 3
This is my
kids,
point.
daycare is $1,200 plus a month. If you got 3 kids, it might be cheaper to keep your ass at home with your 3 kids than for you to go out and work and us to just be going to work to pay for daycare.
That's what I'm saying. Where's all these men
There's
that you talking about?
There's so
They
many
out here.
different
They got
situations
all this money. Where
as
they
to
at?
why people stay home. It's not just because it's time to chill.
if you got 4 kids in daycare, that's
That people
That's-
have
that's
that.
just-
Yeah, exactly.
People have 2 sets
You
of
got
twins.
4 kids
People
in
have
there.
that. People have 3 under 3, 2
You
under
just,
2.
you just ain't
Here we
thinking.
go.
have-
We're not gonna talk about people's kids' ages,
People have-
okay? Because people have
I have
kids
a
every
friend
2
who has
years.
3 kids right now, 1 set of twins and a small boy, and they're all in daycare. None of them are old enough to go to public school yet. It happens.
decision making happens as well. Yes, it does.
Yes,
Oh,
but
now he's
okay,
going
but
into a whole nother-
listen. A
Tell
man
him
making
to go
enough is not the same thing as
He's
a man
going into
making
a whole-
abundance amount of money to sit there like, listen, can I get the money that you saving from daycare? Then we can sit there and say, all right,
It's a
it's a
luxury.
housewife, it's a luxury.
All right, so
But
The
if
problem
you're just
is-
making enough to pay mortgage
Just-
and the bills, that's not enough for me.
just keep
I'm
that
not
same
staying
energy
at
for your
home.
house
I'm going to
husband.
That's what I'm saying. If it was a house husband and he say, "Oh, I'm working hard, it's a job," y'all be like, "No, you not. I know you watching TV."
No, I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say
if I'm a
that.
nurse or something like a big,
If you
and
have
I'm making
kids
a big
or you
bag,
ever had small kids, you know how much work that shit is.
All right,
it
cool.
really is a lot of
I'll
work.
pay him stay home.
We keep using the kid
I'll pay
example.
him
Y'all
stay
know
home.
every housewife doesn't have kids.
Right, but that's why I was trying to
Then that's
figure
a
out
different
how you was
definition.
define exactly. That's a different definition. Because if you're equating housewife to stay-at-home mom, then you're assuming that they have kids. But if you're equating housewife to Atlanta housewives or
See?
somebody who's just chilling, then yeah, you can make the statement you made.
But
There's
y'all
levels.
said stay at home, take care of kids.
I'm
Y'all
making,
said
Right.
kids.
I'm
That's
making
what
a
y'all
statement
said.
Y'all
general
said
for
kids.
everybody.
Nah.
I'm standing 10 toes
you
on
couldn't
it.
stay at home a day with all them kids running around. You lose it.
I could.
You probably lose
I
it.
could do
If
it.
I make them, I can stay at home with them.
Oh yeah, for how long?
You say that now.
If they mine,
These kids.
I'm telling you, I can do
Okay.
it.
Right.
These
Fun
kids
dad.
and these
He's a fun
wives.
dad.
You be calling your wife every second, like, where you at, Luha?
Where's the diapers?
Yo,
You supposed to be home at 5:35.
I believe in whooping ass.
5:37.
I believe in whooping ass. I believe in whooping ass.
Oh, here we go.
Shatika, I want to ask you this before we head out because I
Yeah.
know you got meetings, you got important things to get into. What is the toughest thing that you rose above to get to the point where you're at right now, and what's the toughest thing you are going to go through to get you at your end goal?
The toughest thing that I've had to go through?
That one always makes
I
people
think I've already made it out the toughest thing. Like growing up where I grew up, a lot of people did not make it out of where I come from.
That's true.
So I think I've already overcome the toughest obstacle that I've had to overcome, which is, being able to make it out of the projects that are meant to keep people down and not elevated at all. So thankfully, I feel like I've made it through that obstacle, and that's continuing to elevate every day. And what was the second question?
And what's the toughest thing you're gonna have to toughest obstacle you're gonna have to go through to get into the seat of?
Well, first of all, on February 28th, I have to collect signatures to get on the ballot.
Okay.
That's the first. I was just endorsed by the Democratic Party
Nice. Congrats.
last night or the night before last.
Yes.
But that's not enough. I still have to collect signatures, 1,000 plus, to be able to make the ballot for June. And, so I'm playing for the long game, right? It's not just being able to get an endorsement, but it's like hitting every benchmark. I do have 2 other people who's running against me. So it's important that I get out there and I get out there early. So if anybody's interested in volunteering, they can email parkerforyonkers@gmail.com. If anybody's interested in volunteering, they can email parkerforyonkers@gmail.com. And that's the first benchmark of many. I think once I'm in the door, it's really going to be, navigating City Hall and working together with my colleagues to do what's in the best interest of the First District. Yonkers is a big place. We know that there are many different backgrounds in Yonkers. The east side of the Sawmill River is not, the Sawmill River Parkway is not the same as the west side of the Sawmill River Parkway. And when you have competing interests, but you're all fighting for, the same piece of the pie, that can become challenging. But it's a challenge that I welcome and I'm excited to do, roll my sleeves up and get to work. And
Yeah, we want to thank you for pulling up.
Definitely appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Young, thank you for making this happen.
Thank you. Thank you for setting these guys straight.
Thank you. Yeah, where can we find you? Where's your information? Where?
Sure. So on Instagram, I'm Shatike Parker, ShatikaParker. My website is parkerforyonkers.com. You can email me at parkerforyonkers@gmail.com. Same name on Facebook. Yeah.
We'll make sure to have all that right there.
Yeah.
So the people can see.
Thank you.
And watch it.
Yep.
We appreciate y'all for coming.
Yes,
Real talk.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I wish I gave you headphones so you could hear the sound effects. I've been doing all that, hitting buttons.
It's all good.
But we appreciate y'all. Thank you. Shout out to our YouTube viewership, Apple Podcast listenership, Spotify listenership, Google Play listenership, SoundCloud listenership for all the boys who can't afford all the people who can't afford
Look at you.
To be a house husband.
There go with those words.
I'm just saying, for it's for the housewives need something to listen to. They can't afford to get us Apple Podcasts.
That's what I'm saying. You're so busy.
Shoot. Oh no. Oh no.
All the housewives tune into Rose Above It.
How we off this?
We're gonna make housewives of Yonkers.